Kemi Badenoch is saying this. Obviously, she's meant to be striking fear and trepidation into the hearts of those who would vote reform. They're meant to think, if I do this, what will happen? Oh, my gosh, they might reverse Brexit. That would be terrible. I'm not going to do it. I'll definitely vote Tory instead. Do you think that's going to work?
I don't know whether Kemi's message will get through, but if you look at, for example, somebody like Andrea Jenkins, who's in Leeds South, Conservative Member of Parliament, ardent Brexiteer, very much a social and cultural Conservative. Well, the Reform Party is standing a candidate in her constituency, who actually comes from the neighbouring constituency, and is probably, unfortunately, that's going to result in Kemi losing her seat. But what will happen, because in the neighbouring constituency, Reform is not standing a candidate against sitting MP who is an ardent Remainer and Rejoiner. So they're not taking him on. So Reform, unquestionably, whatever Nigel Farage says, and I know Nigel well, but whatever he tells you, the reality is, and that in many cases, not in all parts of the country, but in many cases, yes, a vote for Reform is going to remove a candidate who is an ardent Brexiteer and has a chance of winning, whilst not giving Reform the chance of winning the seat. So it depends. If you're in a constituency where you have an ardent Brexiteer who wants to take the country forward on that basis, and you vote Reform, you may well be resulting in indeed further integration with the EU.
All right, key question though. I mean, how much will people worry about that? How much will people fear the idea of Brexit being reversed? How many people listening to me on LBC this afternoon will think, well, I wouldn't care less if it were reversed. In fact, I wish it had never happened. In fact, A, I did vote for it, but it hasn't turned out to be the way I expected it. Or B, I didn't vote for it. I thought it was a terrible little islander idea. I loathed everything about it. And I would love to see it reversed. I mean, do you think there are going to be many people listening who are really satisfied, nay, delighted, nay, thrilled to pieces with what Brexit has delivered to us so far? And if they are, and if you are, what has it delivered that's been such a boon and such a benefit to us? What has been good about it so far?
Well, Vanessa, that's you pardon the number of questions in there. I think there will be, inevitably, there are a lot of people who are passionate about rejoining the European Union or getting as close as we can. And fine, that's their view. I respect that. And there will be others who are seriously concerned about that. I respect that view as well. And I'm actually in the latter camp. But I respect both sides of the discussion. The problem is that before Brexit, I mean, you indicated that, people didn't know what was going to happen for sure. That's correct.
Yeah.
People don't know for sure what would happen if we did get closer. But I tell you this, Vanessa, and to anybody who's listening, be careful not to conflate or to look at all of the problems the UK is suffering and immediately blame Brexit. A lot of people who are campaigning and want us to rejoin the European Union are deliberately indicating to the whole of the British people, that everything that's going bad in this country is because of Brexit. Similarly, I admit this, a lot of Brexiteer leaders in the run-up to the referendum were telling people that X, Y, and Z would happen. They didn't have a clue. And they tried to blame everything on the European Union, when in fact a lot of things that were going wrong were because of our domestic
politics. I'm going to keep this very basic, Henry. I mean, I have said in which way, and I used a few words because I love a few words where one will do. I love several. That is one of my failings and faux pas. But
so I
said, so in what way has Brexit benefited us? How has it been a boon to us? People listening, what are they going to say? Since Brexit, this was great. Business improved, or I lost lots of weight and I suddenly look thinner and younger, or, what are they going to say? What has Brexit delivered? And you answered, do not blame Brexit for all the things that have gone wrong.
Yes,
but you didn't say this is what Brexit has delivered. That was my question.
I shall answer that. I mean, at the moment, UK GDP is outstripping Germany and France. For example, we are the sixth largest trader in the largest economy in the world. Our trading with Remainers and Rejoiners will tell you that we've got a problem with trade. And indeed, I know traders. I know one who dealt with straw, bizarrely, but anyway, he used to sort of be a wholesaler in straw. All his straw used to go to the Netherlands. He doesn't do that now. It's not economically viable. So some businesses, you can always find a business that's suffered. Brexit brought about change. So there will be those. But there are a lot of businesses who have benefited. Our exports to the European Union since the referendum have gone up by 28%. And that's not just because of inflation or any of these things. It has gone up in value, actually sort of in real terms, by 28%. So we've got, it's a fiction to say that the economy is suffering. What has suffered, and there is suffering, is bad decisions because Brexiteers and the government at the time, the Conservative government, and until now, has not had a plan for following up on Brexit. There was no great vision. There was no great direction or a set of objectives that were real, that they were setting policies to achieve. They had no plan. I argued at the time with many of them that was absolutely vital. I was told that that's detail. We cross those bridges when we come to it. Sorry, that is why we're having the problems that we are in terms of the ordinary everyday things that people have to deal with. It's a failure of domestic political acumen and skills and ability rather than the fact that we left Brexit.
All right, I say, Henry, listen, charming though you are, I'm still not getting a list of the delights and the wonders and the glories that Brexit has brought us so far. What I've had from you is the failures are not the fault of Brexit, and the failures are not the fault of Brexit because the failures are really the fault of domestic.
I told you something.
Domestic beef. Okay, I'm going to come back to you in a minute, but let me go instead to my next guest, Femi Olawale, who is a political activist and writer for The Independent. Hi, Femi. Thank you. I can see you're standing in a field or something. What are you doing? Where are you?
I tried to take a break, but Brexit kept pulling me back into this. So listening to Henry talk about that, for starters, yes, our exports went down during the pandemic. They've risen since. And even Rishi Sunak has admitted that the reason why UK export growth has not risen as much as other similar countries is because of Brexit. So the Prime Minister who delivered Brexit is complaining about Brexit and blaming it for our problems with our trade. And no, nobody is saying that all the problems we're facing is because of Brexit, but Brexit is making pretty much all the problems we're facing worse and worse than they had to be. For example, the Bank of England says that Brexit has increased food prices by at least 6%. The British Chamber of Commerce, they surveyed British businesses and found that 56% of UK businesses have found it harder to sell to the EU because of Brexit. The Nuffield Trust, one of the biggest medical charities in the UK, said that Brexit has made it harder to employ medical staff and made medicines more expensive. So it's making all areas of our life worse. And this idea of, you can't have a reform candidate standing here because it'll make it harder for the Tory candidate, and the Tory candidates are the only ones that can be trusted with Brexit. Both Reform and the Tories hate Brexit. Nigel Farage said Brexit has failed. He says we haven't benefited economically from Brexit. One of the MEPs of the Brexit party, now the Reform Party, said that he was going to take the UK government to the Supreme Court because Brexit is actually worse than remaining. The Tories, on the Tories side, as I said, Rishi Sunak blamed our poor exports on Brexit. Kemi Badenoch herself said that Brexit has been especially traumatic for the car industry. You had Bernard Jenkins, who said that people are leaving London because their prospects and career prospects are worse than they were before we left the EU. The Tories know Brexit is hurting us. The Reform Party knows Brexit is hurting us, and it's a failure. The country as a whole wants us done with Brexit because the majority would vote to rejoin the EU. This isn't a debate anymore because all sides agree that it's hurting us.
I just have to go back to Henry. You can't see him, and I can. He has shaken his head. He has looked apoplectic with fury and indignation. I'm going to give him the last word just because he looks like he needs it, Femi. He really does. Go on, Henry, quickly.
Thank you. Look, what Nigel Farage, what the former Brexit Party MEPs, what myself, what a lot of others are saying is the nation has been let down by our politicians because they have not exploited the benefits of Brexit. The reason that they have said that Brexit is a disappointment is not because Brexit is, but because our government has failed ultimately. We were given control by Brexit. freedom. We were given control in terms of law, government.
Honestly, Femi's in the field. I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to fling himself on the grass in absolute despair. I'm going to have to stop you both. I've never seen anything so passionate as this debate. Shame people can't see you on the telly because I can. It's absolutely hilarious watching both of you. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You've cheered me up no end, you two. Honestly, you really